Okay, let me just record. Okay, so before we start our meeting for today, is there anyone who has a question or clarification so far with our topic last meeting or regarding with the laboratories? Anyone? All right, so I guess none. Okay, so if you guys don't have a question, so let's now start with the last module. So visual basic looping, data file, and then error handling. So for the these three topics, we will only focus on the very first one, which is the basic looping. And then if we still have time, well, we still have time, but I want to give that time to you guys as your time to finish the laboratories, which I gave you, Lab 9 and Lab 10. So I'm not really sure if you will still discuss data file and then error handling. But if we still have plenty of time, then why not? Okay. But for now, let's focus on discussing the visual basic looping. Okay. All right, so without a further ado, let's start. So what is visual basic looping? So it is used for operations that are repeated for some number of times. So from the word looping, we have a loop, we have iterations, okay? But of course, it will only loop or it will only repeat itself if the condition were met, okay? So loop repeats until some specified condition at the beginning or end of the loop is met, okay? And we have three types actually. Okay, and then this one type is has four variations. So let's just say that we have a total of six loopings. Okay, six looping structures. So to make it simple, okay, so do you guys still remember the if statement that we have discussed last meeting? So this one actually has a counterpart, right? Which is the select case statement. Okay, so like what I mentioned last meeting, whatever you can do on the if statement, it can be also done on the select case statement or vice versa. Okay, so the same case with the looping statements. Okay, so whatever you can do with the do loop variations, okay, you can also do that one on the for loop variations. Okay, that's the same with while loop variations. Okay, the same with whatever we have on these variations for this do loop right here. So okay, let me just make it bigger. So in here, in under do loop variations, so this is just a syntax which is made for do loops, okay, or do whiles or do untils, and then this is another syntax which is called for loop, okay, and then another syntax which is called while loop, okay. So again, this is quite the same with the if statement and then select case statement. So whatever you can do with this one do loop variation, it can be also done with the for loop statement. Okay, the same with the while loop statement. Okay, and vice versa. Okay, they just have different syntax. Okay, so since you guys are still learning, so you really need to understand all of them. However, what once you are now doing a certain project, a certain program, you can just focus with one topic, with one syntax. Let's say the do while loop statement. So you can just memorize this one and then ignore the others to avoid confusion. Okay, so that's a thing that I could give to you as you are learning a way of doing things. So it's just a matter of choosing your own style, your own way, okay, or your own preference of programming things. Okay, all right. So without a further delay, let me show to you guys the syntaxes. Okay, but before that, we actually have pre-test loops and then post-test loops. So coming from its name itself, it's quite obvious. When we say pre-test, the condition is at the very first. So it will be, tested first before you can proceed to the looping statement or the body of the loop. Okay, so if we have pre-test, we also have post-test, wherein from its name itself, uh, is trying to say. So the condition is at the very end of the line. All right. So if our VB will read this one, okay, so this one will actually be read, started from the condition, going back, I mean, going inside to its body, and then will end it to its loop ending statement. So it's quite the same with the post test. However, it will be read from the very last and then going back to the body and then going back to its first line. So it's quite confusing, but that's basically how VB reads when it comes to the syntaxes. Okay, so supposedly it's from top to bottom, but there are some cases like uh, it can be read from bottom to top. Okay, so yeah, that's it for pretest. It's just a matter of uh, putting your condition. So it could be at the top or it could be at the bottom. All right, and then we have here the four types of pretest. So we have do while loop, do until loop, while and then for next. Okay, so you don't need to memorize that one for now. So just familiarize the maybe the pattern that you can think of. Then for the post test, we only have two. Okay, which is the do loop while and then the do loop until. Okay, so the first one right here, the do while, is your first line, and then after the dash, okay, it is now the uh, uh, ending statement or the ending line of this do while right here. Okay, so we have an ending of loop, ending of loop, ending of end while we have a starting point of while, and then we have an ending of next, and then starting of for. Okay, the same with this one. But in post test, we have you only have just do, okay, for the first line, and then for the last line we have loop while, okay, and then for the uh, until, so we have do still at the very first, but at the very end we have loop until. Okay, so this is the pattern that I can give to you guys. If we have loop while or loop until at the very end, that's already post test, and then the rest are pre-test. Okay. So again, when we say pretest, the condition is at the very first of the line. And when we say post-test, it's at the very end of the line, okay, of this structure. All right, so here are their syntaxes. Okay, so again, no need to memorize, just familiarize, okay, and then just know the concept, just know the logic behind what's happening. So we have the do while loop structure and then do until loop structure. So the first thing that you will see is both of them are pretest structure because as you guys can see, the condition is at the very first line of the looping structure. Same with this one. Okay, it's just that when we say while, okay, your condition must be true before you can execute your body of the loop. Okay, and then and see until it's now the opposite, okay, opposite of this while right here. So if we have true, then your condition must be false before it will execute the body of loop right here. Okay, so when we say while, you must have a true condition. When we say until, you must have a false condition. Okay, so that's the only thing that I could uh, make this one simple as ever. Okay, when say while, true. When say until, false. And then the rest are the same. Okay, so I hope you guys got this one. So did you guys get the idea so far? Okay, great. One, two, three. What about the others? Did you guys get this one? Well, that's okay if you're quite confused right now. So don't worry, we'll have a lot of examples regarding with do while, do until, and so on and so forth. So in here, if we have pre-test, of course, we also have post-test. Okay. So for the post-test, we still have the same. It's just that the condition is at the very end of the line. So again, when we say while, your condition must be true before it will execute your body of the loop. Okay. And then when we say until, so you must have a false condition before you can execute your body of the loop. Okay. So again, this one is the same with this one. It's just that the syntax or arrangement of the things in here are different. Okay, so pre-test and then post-test. So remember, we only have two post-tests. So the next two are also pre-test, just a different syntax again. Okay, so we have while and while. Okay, so while and while is also true. Okay, so you must have a true condition before you can execute this one. And then for the for next structure, so in here it's quite uh not weird, it's quite different, okay, with the others. So in here you can see that there is a pattern already, like you're already seeing their similarities, but in here it has a different structure. Okay, so as you guys can see, if you wanted to use for next structure, so for and then followed by the variable that we have declared above it, and then the initial uh, let's say number, okay, and then the final number. So when we say 1 to 5, then it will loop 5 times, okay, and then step value and then the statements that you wanted to execute in here for how many times, okay, and then whatever is the variable name in here should be the same with this one right here. Okay, so I hope you guys are getting the idea. So yeah, that's it for this syntaxes. So I am not requiring you guys to memorize this one. Just familiarize, just know the logic and what is happening right here. What is the difference of this one to this one, and so on and so forth. Okay. Okay. So let's have an actual example. So as you guys can see in this exercise number one, it's asking us to display sequence of numbers from 1 to 5 using message box. Okay. So here's the sample output. And then here are the codes, the solution. So we have the solution for the do while, solution for do until. So this one is for the pre-test, and this one is for the post-test. So loop while, loop until, and then the while and while, okay, and then the for next structure, okay. So again, whatever you can do in here can be also done on the other structure. So basically, those codes right here will just give us the same result, okay. So you can just memorize one, you can just familiarize one and then disregard the others. But again, since you are still learning, then you have to do everything, okay? So if it's asking you to code this one using do while, then you have to do it using do while. If it's asking you to program that one using do loop until, then you have to use the syntax of do loop until. Unless you will get 0, okay? So that's the thing about learning. Well, anyway, so let me just show this one to you guys. So wait a second. Exercise number one. So if ever that you have a question, so just raise your hand, okay? Then I'll try to answer your question. Okay, so in here I only need one component, okay? Just like what we have in here. So just a start loop button, and then if I click that button, the message box will pop out. Oh wait, okay, before starting this one, let me just check the code. Do while why. So this one must be 1 to 5, so less than, and this one is incrementing by 1. Okay, right, good. Okay, so let me just show to you guys the output for now, and then we'll discuss the code later. Okay, so if I click calculate, okay, so it will give me the first value, okay. So as you guys can see right here, the initial value is 1. So that's the reason why I have here the value is 1. Okay, it's coming from right here. Uh, Message box, the value is, and then I concatenated the variable y. So whatever is the value of this y right here will be displayed as a string, okay, or as a number. So if I click OK, okay, it became 2. Why? That's because of this incrementation code right here. So as you guys can see, it's incrementing by 1. So whatever is the previous value of my y will be incremented by 1. Okay? So this is now the second loop. Okay? And then one thing that you will notice, okay, so this is the second loop, third loop, fourth loop, and then fifth loop. But once I click once more, it will not show me anything anymore. Why? That's because your condition now is false. Okay? So 5 plus 1 is 6. So if you're going to take a look at this one, so 6 is less than or equal to 5. So 6 is actually greater. So this one is already false. So once this one became false, then that's the time that the loop will stop. Okay? So again, take note when I say while, this will only loop, okay, or this will only keep on executing if you have a true condition. But if you have already, let's see, a false condition, then it will not loop anymore. All right. So that's the reason why you only have 1 to 5 right here. So this is basically this will basically loop 5 times. Okay. So are you guys getting the idea so far? Okay. What about the others? Okay. Great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So this is just with the use of while. What about if we're going to use this structure until? Okay, so just change this one into until, and then take note that we are still using the pre-test structure since the condition is at the very first of the looping structure. Okay, so since we're using until, so this must be false before it will execute. Okay, so we're going to start with 1. So 1 is less than or equal to 5. So that's actually true. So we have to invert this one. So y is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, so in here, initially 1 is not greater than or equal to 5. So that's false. So it will still loop. And then incremented by 1. So 2 is not actually greater than 5, so it's still false, so it will still loop. Anyway, let me just show to you guys the result. So if I will click calculate, so the first one is 1 of course, followed by 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Oops, I have to remove this one because 5 is already equal to 5. Okay, let's go back right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. But once it reached the value of 6, so 6 is now greater than 5, which is now true. Okay, so that is now the time that it will stop looping. Because again, when we say until, it will only loop if we have a false condition. Okay, so did you guys get this one so far using until structure? All right, so just be careful on what structure you're going to use. So is it while, is it until, is it for next, is it while and while? Okay, so I've just demonstrated the pretest structure. Let's now use the post test. So all I need to do, okay, is uh, cut this one and then put it right here. Okay, so we now have a post test structure. Oops, let me stop this one. All right. So the idea is still the same. So let's use while for now. So we must have a true condition. Y must be less than or equal to 5. Okay. So everything is still the same. It's just that the condition is now at the very end of the looping structure. So let me show the result of this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. But then once it reach 6, 6 now is greater than 5, okay, which will make this one false already. So that's the time that it will stop looping, okay. But if I will use until, then your condition must be false. So y is greater than 5. Okay, so if I click start, it will still give me the same result. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So once it reach 6, so 6 is now greater than 5, which will make the statement true. So that's the time that it will stop looping. Okay, so did you guys get the idea so far? So you should have already understood the, the logic of looping statement. Okay, because if not, you'll be having a hard time in understanding the following exercises, okay, or the following examples. So if ever that you have a question, so feel free to ask me right now, so we can, you know, make a remedy with your problem or confusion right now. Okay, none. So just really hope that most of you have understood this one. Anyway, so that's it for the post test. Let's now proceed to the, oops, right here. Let's now proceed to the while, and then for next structure. So for the do while, so it's quite the same with do while. It's just that you have to remove that do right there and then replace it to while only. And this loop right here will become end while. Okay, and then for the statement inside, so it's still the same. So y must be less than or equal to 5. So while also require true condition. Okay, so in here it will also give us the same result. So 1, 2, 3, 4. My bad. It's up to 4 only. This one must have an equal sign. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And then it will stop looping because 6 now is not less than or equal to 5. Okay. And then for the 4 next structure, so everything is pretty much the same aside from the starting point and then the ending point. So for y, okay, let me just check. Yeah, for y is equal to 1 to 5. Okay, and then next y. For y is equal to 1 to 5. And then basically we have a step value right here. So if I will not put anything beside it, so by default it will increment by 1. Sorry, I have to remove this one because we don't need that incrementation since it's already in here. Okay, so by default it will increment. Okay, it will increment by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Okay, so if you wanted it to increment by 2, then you must put it right here. Let's say step 2. So instead of plus 1, it's now plus 2. So 1, 3, and then 5. Then stop looping. So the same with the let's say while structure. Do while. Let's just say do while. Okay, let's remove this one. Then place it right here. Do while y is less than or equal to 5. So if you wanted this one to increment, let's say by 2, then just change this one into 2. Okay, so you can have the same result like 1, 3, and then 5. Okay, all right. So did you guys get the idea so far? Using those 6 different structures. You guys sure? No problem? No issues? No clarifications? Alright, so if there's really none, then let's now proceed to exercise number 2. Okay, so in here, it's just that the initial value is different from our last example, and then the same with the final value is different from our first example. But everything is pretty much the same. Okay, So it will still increment by 1. We're still displaying the content into our message box, and then we're just showing on how to do that one on different syntaxes. Okay, we have the pre-test, and then we have the post-test, and then we have the using while and while, and then using the for next. Okay, so I will just do, okay, the do while, and then I will let you guys do the others since it will give us the same results anyway. So in here, we're going to we're going to start with 10 instead of 1, followed by 25. So it will loop from 10 to 25, and then it will only increment by 1. So, okay, just wait a second. So if I click this one as expected, it will give us a value of 10, and then it will increment by 1 until it reach the value of 25. Okay, and then 26 will now stop looping. All right. So if you will change the incrementation value into 5, then it will increment by 5. So 10, 15, 20, and then 25. So 10, 15, 20, and then 25. Okay. So did you guys get this one so far? For the exercise number 2? Am I too fast or just the right uh, pace? Hello, hello, hello. So mabilis pa ako or sakto lang? Baka di kayo nakakasunod. Okay, sige. Hindi ko alam kung anong feedback nyo. Anyway, alright, so that's it for the exercise number 2. And then for the exercise number 3, okay, so we can also do this one. So we have a higher initial value and then a lower final value. But of course, instead of incrementing it, so we're going to decrement the value every loop. So instead of plus, we'll make it minus. So again, I will still use do while, and then I will let you guys do the others. So starting from 25, and then right here is 10. So this one must be greater than or equal. Okay, and then I'm going to decrement this one by 1. So in here, we will start with 25, and then it will decrement by 1 until it will reach the value of 10. 4, 3, 2, 1, up to 10. Then after that, it will stop looping. Okay, so again, you can also change the value of your decrementing value to by 5. So you can have 25, 20, 15, and then 10. Okay, 25, 20, 15, and then 10. Okay, so I hope you guys were able to get the idea with this one on what are things that you can change, okay, what are things that you cannot do, and so on and so forth. Okay, all right, so any questions so far regarding with our exercises 1, 2, 3? Okay, so I assume that none, since no one is speaking or raising their hand. So for the exercise number 4, or actually your turn, okay, this is now your quiz number 6. Okay, so yeah, this is already your last quiz. So just write codes that print all the odd numbers from 1 to 50 using the do while loop structure. So when we say print, you're going to display the one using a list box. Okay, so I will give you an option. So either list box or a message box. So you can you can do them either of those two. So it's either list box or message box, the one that we are using right here. Okay, so what important is you're displaying odd numbers from 1 to 50. And then take note, we're going to use the do while loop structure. Okay, so if you use do until loop, then you will get 0 since you didn't follow the correct instruction. Okay, so are we clear so far regarding with your quiz number 6 right here? 6 quiz. Wala pang due date. Okay, let me just put the due date of this one. So June 18. Let's maximize. Oops. Entry file upload. So you guys have more than a week to do this one. Alright, so that's it for your quiz number 6. So any questions so far up to this point? Okay, so I guess none. So let's now move on to the exercise number 4. So write codes that compute the squares and cubes of the integers from 1 to 10 with the following output. So we have here the expected output. So we have the number 1 to 10 and their equivalent as squared numbers and then their cube, okay, numbers. So let's say the 5 cube is equal to 125 and then the 5 squared is 25. So the same with the other numbers. So 10 squared is 100 and then 10 cubed is 1000. So all we need is two components. So the button and then the list box. So let me just show this one to you guys. Exercise number 4. Alright, so in here we have the two components, the compute button and then the list box itself. And then how did I put those headers in there, or the title, number, square, and then cube? So just go to the properties of this list box and then proceed to items and then collection. Then you will see right here the hard-coded text of number, square, and then cube. Okay, so just hit OK and then those texts will pop out right here. Alright, so what we need to program is the compute button. So in here, I just declared 3 variables. Okay, the number, which is the first column. Okay, wherein we have equated that one to 1. So the starting value is already 1. And then we have the squared and then the cube for the second and third column. Okay, so how do we compute for the squared? So just raise the number to 2. The same with cube. So how do we get the result of cube? So just cube the number. Okay, so this is now the one thing that may be new to you guys. So we're going to display, okay, the output onto the list box. So before we're just using text boxes, label, what else? Yeah, those two only. But right now we're going to display them, we're going to display the result inside the list box. So to do that one, just get the name of that list box. So list box 1 that items that add, okay, and then we're going to display here the results for the first column, which is the number right here, and then followed by end, bb tab, and then end. So end is concatenation. We're just basically combining the number and then the squared. But before we can combine them, I've added another function right here, which is called bb tab. So it's quite similar. It's quite similar with our Word or with Microsoft Word. You know, when we press tab or with the notepad. So where is my Microsoft Word? Right here. Okay, so let's create a new one, blank document. Okay, so just wait a second. Alright, so in here, if I click space, it will give me one space, of course. But if I click tab, okay, so notice that it's like giving me 5 spaces. Okay, so that's the same with the VB tab. So it's like having 5 spaces so that the result on the first column will not, you know, uh, sit side by side with the result on the square. So initially we have the result right here and then 5 spaces and then the result right here. Okay, that's the function of the VB tab. Okay, the same with this one, another 5 spaces after the square, and then followed by the cube result. And then it's incrementing by 1, and then it will only stop. Okay, let me just change this 1 into 11 since we have 1 to 10 only. Okay, it will only stop once this 1 became true. Okay, because we're using until. So let me show to you guys the result. So yeah, there you go. So 1 to 10, 1 to 100, and then 1 to 1000. Okay, so since we don't have enough time anymore, we'll just continue the rest on the part 2. So goodbye for now and see you guys later.
Later.
Goodbye.